Bearcat Bounce podcast, back at it again. Happy Monday, guys. Happy Monday. Following a lot going on in the sports world, but a little bit of a cooler week when it comes to football and basketball for the Cincinnati Bearcats programs. But it was yet again another big week for the baseball program for the Bearcats. That's right. We're going to be joined by an extremely special guest. He's not here yet, so we're gonna get a little talking before we bring on the extremely special guest. But it is baseball time, and the Bearcats are roaring and making moves. It's also a Monday following, as I mentioned, Kentucky Derby happened, NBA Finals in the fold. A former Bearcat football player was drafted number 1 overall in a draft. Yes, we're going to talk about that. We're talking about all of it. It's also Monday where I'm going to welcome the pals, the guys, the OGs, the crew. We're all together. We're all here. Better late than never. Without further ado, Aaron Smith, Chad Brendel, Ryan Royer. Gentlemen, how are we?
I'm good. Good. Little derby party on Saturday.
Woo!
The rain held off. I grilled a couple steaks tonight. So, everything's turning up Brendel.
Hey, baby. Everything's turning up, Brendel. What was the derby party like? Let's hear the breakdown of that.
I was pretty standard. Just my buddy has one every year. This year we did appetizers as the meal. So that was pretty good. I did a couple different styles of wings and did our hot pepper jelly bagel dip. Okay. That I'm almost famous for. And yeah.
Well, I'd say
what is almost. Yeah. Let me hear this story.
I mean, I'm just not quite famous for it yet. So
I didn't know if
you're not famous, then you're almost
talk
famous.
Around the town.
Almost famous. What a movie.
Great movie. It gets requested, Ryan. Like, what should I bring? Bring that bagel dip. So,
yes, sir.
It's really just I did a little extra this time, Ryan. I took the blocks of cream cheese. I took the blocks of cream cheese, and I put them out on the smoker while I was smoking the wings with some barbecue seasoning on top of them, and then I put them in a bowl and mixed them with a jar of hot pepper jelly, and that's all there is to it. It's like it's
3 good ingredients.
Yeah,
the seasoning, the cream cheese, that hot pepper jelly sounds good.
You gotta. I've experimented with a bunch. I've found one up at Jungle Gyms.
I was gonna say really it sounds like a Jungle Gym type of.
Yeah, it's really good. It's got like lime and Mexican chilies, and so yeah, it turned out great. Everybody was happy. Had a good derby party. Hung out till about 11 o'clock at my best friend's house, and then went to get an Uber. And my best friend lives 3 miles away from me. And at 10:45 on a Saturday night, derby night, guess how much an Uber was for that 3 miles?
$62.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Gotta love the surge, baby.
I got a funny derby story. So I was up at Findlay for my sister's graduation.
Findlay Market?
No, University of Findlay. And we're there. It's like me, my brother, my parents are at my sister's house with like her roommates. And we're like, me, my brother, my dad want to watch the derby. So we're watching it on we take our bedroom TV out, stick it down on the table down in the kitchen. We're like drinking. And my brother's like, you know what? I'm kind of feeling Mystic Dan. My dad's like, I was thinking that too. Like, I'm going to go in on Mystic Dan. And so we're watching it, and like Mystic Dan wins, and like my dad and my brother are jumping up and down because my dad bet I think like $20 or something, so it was to win like damn near 500 or whatever the fuck it was. Yeah. And he's like yeah baby, like jumping up and down. He's like checking his slip. He's like oh shit. We're like, what?
Place the bet.
He put a bet. He thought he put a bet on Sierra Leone and Mystic Dan, but he accidentally clicked Sierra Leone twice. And so the reality sets in, and he's like, well, my brother's like, well, we had fun though. We had a good fun moment together.
We thought we were
winners at first.
I know.
Yeah,
We
well,
thought we were getting a steak dinner tonight, but now we're not.
if you
No,
would
we
have
had to
done
settle
win
for
play
that.
show, would have been nice.
What'd you say?
If you would have done a
Oh,
little
yeah.
win play show, would have been set. But no,
No.
I mean, obviously, my last name, as you can see next to me on this nameplate here, Young Forever. Young was who my family was all on. Royer, similar thing. We're all at a derby party, and man, you really get your juices flowing. I mean, you can see why Travis Kelce is there at the Derby getting wild. You can see why people go and get crazy at these horse races because we were cheering on Forever Young heavy when it was making its last little push there, and then the photo finish just a nose short. But man, what a time! What a day to be alive. Were you wearing neon, Royer, or were you just kind of chilling?
I was just chilling, man. I had like a graduation ceremony I was at, so couldn't be rocking anything too crazy.
Okay. Little
There you go.
poo hat. Get a
Sure you
little
could.
accurate. Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
I was
Urine.
rocking my New York Yankees polo
Oh,
for all you Reds fans out there.
oh, yeah. Aaron Judge ejected. But
He's
yeah,
coming back, man.
let's go.
Let's talk about Aaron Judge. Is that what this podcast is about? Should we get in on
It is
his hate?
baseball centric. There's no doubt about that. So we can get a little all rise talk in. Why not? See where it leads us.
Hey,
See where it
people have been
leads us.
complaining about everything lately. Let's just give them something more to complain about.
Right. Exactly. We can talk about my fantasy team for 2 hours. See what everyone thinks. Yeah, Aaron.
Nope.
Okay. Well, how are we then, Aaron?
I'm good. I ran to Target today, and that took an hour each way because that's how close the nearest Target is to where I live in Athens.
Did you
that
literally run like with your feet?
Yeah.
Oh no. That's in a car. In a car on the highway. Yep.
It had to be Target.
We had to run to a UPS store, and the nearest UPS store was 45 minutes away. So we went to the one that was 55 minutes away. That way we could also go to Target. So
wow.
me and Brennix went to the UPS store, to Target, and to Cane's, and all of those things. Those are the nearest for all of those things. Outside of the UPS store, could have been 10 minutes closer. So
There we go, man. Well, you figured it out. You're back. You've got your baseball. What do we call it? A bandana on, or I want to.
It's a headband.
Headband, okay. Or what was the thing? The girdle thing. What's it called? That people usually use. What?
A dickie?
No, the thing over whatever. I
don't know. What are you girdling around your head? I'm very confused. What you're girdling around your head?
Me too. I've had a whirlwind of a day as well.
Is that like when people use their mask as a chin diaper?
Yes, that's like what's the name of the thing that people were using as a mask that was like looked like this and went over their neck and their face. Come on,
a gaiter.
A gaiter. There we go. Chad,
oh, gaiter. A neck gaiter.
Yes.
Girdle.
Thank you.
Girdle goes around your waist.
Girdle. I know. I wore one back in the day. Football. Royer, did you rock the girdle? I'm sure you did. But
of course.
Yeah, I woke up in Florida and now I'm here full damn day. I'm the reason why we started a little late, so apologies up front for that. I'll take full ownership. But hey, we've got a wild show, a fantastic one coming up for you. It's baseball centric as we mentioned, but you know what? This one time, a quick story. We were at the baseball fields. I was a young lad. I was throwing rocks, pretending I was star baseball player. Let's say I was Barry Larkin or Ken Griffey Jr. Just out there throwing rocks, and a van drove by, and I threw a rock. Sure enough, I was like a Randy Johnson fastball, shattered the back window of the van. I don't know if Danco Joe can help you out with that, but I'm sure if you head there and head on over to Danco Transmission and Auto Care, he can lead you in the right direction, or at least fix the dent in your car caused by the frustration from the rock as well. So hit up Danco Joe, Danco Transmission and Auto Care. They'll get you hooked up. Mention Royer, mention Aaron, mention Chad, mention myself, mention the man of the show who we are awaiting his arrival, head coach Jordan Bishel. Mention him as well as the baseball program for the Cincinnati Bearcats has truly taken off. And guys, I'm excited to hear your overall thoughts. What what it's like, Chad, you're on campus a lot recently for, football practice and different things here and there. Do you feel that buzz that the baseball program is really gaining in year one of Big 12 play, in year one of Jordan Bishop?
I mean, at football practice, no, not really. I'm just
Well,
watching
yeah.
football.
Right.
I mean, you can see it online though, like the number of people talking about the games, the results, the number of people becoming invested inning to inning has increased drastically over the past 2-3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the lifeblood of it all. Is if you start building that buzz, then people start going to games. And if they start going to games, it becomes maybe an event where they can watch good baseball and maybe not have to spend the Reds type money to get tickets and to get concessions. And, a lot of times, like, you've got young kids, you want to do something that's going to entertain them, to occupy them. And in terms of family atmosphere and all of that stuff, they've got that stuff down pretty good. So now the winning part, I talked to a lot of coaches that have come in and out of this place.
Right.
And, some of them with the Olympic sports. And it's like, well, what do we got to do? The answer is very simple. If you want people to care, win.
Right.
And this team got off to a pretty solid start. They didn't play maybe the type of schedule that they had played in the past, but also in the past, they played a tough schedule and they started conference play like 4-10. And this team gave themselves a little bit of runway, gave themselves a little bit of opportunity to build up where they're at and what they're doing. And, the biggest bugaboo we talked about this team coming into the season was pitching. They haven't been like, the Vanderbilt Commodores from a couple years ago, but the pitching is steadily on an upswing. And that they are continuously delivering pretty solid performances for a really good offense. And that puts you in position to win games. And that's exactly what they've been doing at this point.
Aaron, you were able to interview Coach before the season began over on your podcast with George in the Jungle. Just did you have personally the expectations that, oh, wow, we're going to be sitting here winning record in the Big 12, one of the best baseball conferences in the country, progressively getting better, as you were just talking to Coach from that early February window?
Coach, the way he talked, he definitely sounded like he had a plan in place. He sounded like he knew that it was going to be a tough road to get there. And with the Big 12 and what we've seen already with women's basketball, men's basketball, football, it's not anything to be – it's not made for the lighthearted, I guess you could say. And especially when you're kind of playing from behind the eight ball with trying to get a team ready in the spring in a northern state as opposed to many of the Big 12 schools down in the South, like Texas Tech and Baylor and UCF and all of the schools that are in a warmer climate. You're kind of, it's not the same. It's really not the same. And being that he had done this already in Central Michigan and had built a winning culture up at Central Michigan, it's translated and he's figuring things out on the fly, and hat tip.
Well, speaking of the man, the myth, the legend himself, as we were giving you some flowers before you came on board, Coach, as we always do here on the BBP, I gotta welcome you in, and I gotta, say head coach of the baseball program, absolutely having a fantastic season, fun to watch, fun to get out there at the ballpark, check them out. But Coach Jordan Bishop, Coach, how are we?
Good. How you doing? I apologize. I'm buried in my basement, a little bit shadowy down here, but I just got the kids to bed and I'm not about to wake them up. So
smart. People understand that. Aaron, Chad.
I do.
Ryan
I
and
certainly do. Yeah.
I don't know a dang thing about that right now.
Yeah, Ryan and I not quite yet, but we'll take your word for it. Aaron mentions it every day how tough it is for the put to bed and then the stay in bed part.
Yeah. My wife probably deals with more of those issues this time of year than I do, but that's a big part of our success is having somebody who runs the show behind the scenes.
Hey, there we go.
Hey, Coach, what do you think of Aaron's headband? Do you think you're going to rock one of those for the next home series in the Big 12?
I wouldn't probably hold your breath on that, but we probably have a number of guys a lot younger and cooler than me that might.
All right. I don't know. It could be good luck.
Aaron is neither of those things, young nor cool.
That's fine.
So
I don't know. Headband looks nice on you, Aaron. Gotta
I
do something.
appreciate
Yes, it suits you well.
Yeah, there you go. We'll roll with that, Coach. We'll roll with that. But a season full of in-season improvements up to this point. It seems like things have progressively gotten better. Offenses continue to stay hot. Pitching has continued to get better. I guess in a way, obviously, the season's still going on. But if you had to, in a nutshell, just kind of give your thoughts, your overall feelings, as obviously you hit the biggest stretch of the year with a winning record, not only overall but also in the conference.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just really proud of our guys. I think the biggest thing we talked about a lot, especially the last 6 or 7 weeks, is, we just want to get better. Just keep working to get better. We knew we wouldn't be a finished product early. Nobody is, but obviously new conference, new coach, a lot of new personnel, probably more for us than most teams. And we just push that, hey, like, just don't look at the record. Don't look at the standings. Get better, play the game with some enthusiasm, with some energy, and just see where it leaves you. And I think we could all play a little bit ignorant, not knowing what we were getting into, and just saying, let's just see where we can get. And I think that's really served us well. We've played so much better. And not that we were bad early, but the records kind of stayed the same as the competition's gotten a lot tougher. And these last 2 weekends were really impressive by our guys, what they've put into this to get to this point. I mean, we go to UCF, who's top 30 in the RPI, would be a shoe-in for an at-large right now if the season ended and we win 2 out of 3 there. And then we come home against West Virginia, who has a first-round draft pick on their roster. And again, they're in the NCAA tournament for sure, hands down, if the season ends now, and win another series. It's a credit to our guys and the buy-in they've had. It's been really exciting to watch those guys grow.
When you came over, obviously
let's go back to that series.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Sorry. I was going to say, let's go back to that series against TCU. TCU being an early preseason favorite in the Big 12, and you sweep them. And what kind of, I guess, like launching point was that for the season?
Yeah, that was really big. We going into that, we don't have any huge soapbox meetings or us against the world type stuff. It's not really me. I think we just prepare and go out and play. But we did talk that weekend that as I watched film of them and prepared for them, I really felt like we were getting to a point where we were on par with the level they were playing at that time. And I really challenged our guys that we were going to go in with the mentality that we expected to win those games. And the Friday night we faced Peyton Tolley, who I mean, he's an All-American. He's going to be a high draft, one of the best in the country, probably the best in our league. And we were getting no hit through 5 innings, and we were able to rally, score a few against him, and go on to win. And that just kind of carried over the rest of the weekend. And that's another team. Now, they're not probably playing as well right now as last year when they were in the World Series. But again, if the season ends right now, their RPI is right in a spot to be in the NCAA tournament. So to win 3 games, and they've been in the World Series, I don't know, 7 or 8 times in the last 15 years. So I think our guys were already believing we could do some good things, but certainly it probably put a little bit of thump behind what we were trying to do and really making believers out of our guys, but also maybe opening some eyes in the community that, hey, this jump to the Big 12, it's tough, but it can be done.
Coach, what has been the secret sauce at home? Your guys' record at home has been outstanding, and they have just played consistently well on home turf.
Yeah, we pay our umpires really well at home to make sure everything. No, I shouldn't even be saying anything like that in today's day and age, right? But no, I think it's comfort more than anything. We've got a group that's had to really grow together. A lot of new things going on, right? The league, the personnel, the coaches, all those things. And I think just as a whole, being on our home field brought a lot more certainty, a lot more comfort. The road brought another variable that maybe we weren't accustomed to. And we've seen lately, that UCF series was big for us to go on the road and win 2 out of 3 against a really good opponent. So I'm hopeful those things even out over time. But I think there's a level of comfort. I'm sure there are teams in our league that are not real excited to come to our place in March and early April when, it might be 50 degrees and they're coming from Texas, and we want that to play to our advantage. And then we've been more and more, and yesterday was the best we've seen. We had a great crowd yesterday. We had a great first inning where we stole some bases, bunted for a hit, and it was pretty electric in there. That was fun to see. And so we're hoping to see that build and continue to be a part of that success.
Talk about your pitching rotation and the development, because when you were on with George and Aaron, you talked about we think we're going to be pretty good on offense. Our pitching staff is young, and we need them to develop and grow over the course of a season, and they have done exactly that. I mean, you're not throwing shutouts every night, but given where you started with this pitching staff, they have made incredible strides.
Yeah, it's been really, number one, Josh Reynolds, our pitching coach, and Taylor Sheriff, our director of pitching development, they're lockstep in tandem, working with these guys daily, working with them to get better. And they've committed to that process of getting better. Just a lot of credit to those 2 guys and then the guys on staff. But it's been fun to see. I think maybe 75% of our innings are freshmen and sophomores. And we actually expected Chase Horst to log a huge workload for us, expected Griffin Hughes to log a big workload for us, and those guys missed most of conference play with an injury. We're just getting them back now. Ryan Insko was probably our best reliever early. He's been out a long time, so we actually lost a few key guys, which internally we're a little bit nervous about where that might leave us because we knew it was going to sap some depth. But Seth Logue is a guy who we were hoping could step into the rotation, really struggled early. We bumped him into the bullpen. He kept pitching on Fridays, but was just piggybacking, coming in the second or third. Just let him settle in, get a little more confident. Now he's back in a starting role. He has really grown this year. His confidence has taken off. He's pitched well. Tommy Boba, again, a little bit up and down at times, just keeps getting a little bit better. Nate Taylor has really come into his own. Had some really good starts early, but had some really bad starts early. And I think you saw the growth this week. He had a really rough, I think it was second inning, had 2 walks, a hit by pitch, had bases loaded, nobody out, and that could have imploded on him. He gets out of it, ends up getting us to the 7th inning. I mean, that was huge in his growth. Carson Marsh, freshman, kind of starts out in middle relief and then starts pitching a little bit late, closed out a game at UCF. I mean, the list goes on. Brendan Garula is another one. But what's fun is collectively the velocity on that staff is probably at the bottom end of the league. The number of scouts showing up to see that staff right now is probably at the bottom of the league. And we're slowly starting to compete towards the middle and even at times the upper tier of the league with guys that pure stuff wise may not be there, but mentally they're growing, they're competing. It's a huge credit to them and their coaches.
Talk a little bit more about what went into that decision. I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, the Baylor series when you slid in Garula as a starter, brought Seth in. What kind of went into that thought? Like you said, letting him settle in and then seeing where it went from there.
Yeah, my background has always been don't just pencil guys into spots and blindly do it. Like, think about what you're doing. Does it make sense? And the big thing for Seth, we had played at St. Louis non-conference weekend. He had a horrible inning. I don't know, it was a third, fourth, whatever. They scored about eight runs with 2 outs. And you could see he had done some good things early, but you could just see he wasn't really believing he could pitch himself out of those jams. And I sat down with Seth. I spent a lot of time with him. He had actually thrown a couple innings in one of our fall scrimmages against Xavier and done a tremendous job. I pulled up the video of that. I said, hey, where is this guy gone? And you could see it. The ball was coming out better. There was more confidence. There was more faith. There was more conviction. And it's tough. He's a senior who spent 3 years at Kentucky, did some good things, but he was never a guy for them. He was never one of those guys they were really relying on. And now he was putting the weight of the world on his shoulders. And I just say, you know what? We know you can get guys out. You're putting way too much pressure on. Let's just let you come out of the pen, let the game start, get into the flow of it. Brendan did a great job at Baylor, getting us through a couple of innings. And for whatever reason, he just let himself pitch. and it took some pressure off. And then when it goes well, why mess with a good thing? So we did it for 3 or 4 weeks. And then at that point, I was just convinced, hey, he's where he needs to be. So we threw him back in a starting role, which I think we'll continue to do. He's not going to be your typical Friday night starter in the Big 12. He's not 95, 96. He's not going to be a third-round draft pick, but he's learning how to compete. And we knew there was enough pitcher in there to win games for us. So it's a huge credit to him. He was halfway through his senior year. He could have just thrown his hands in the air and said it's not meant to be, and he kept going, which is awesome.
Well, speaking kind of more along these same lines, it's just roster build and kind of continuity and kind of charisma and getting everyone connected. Was that kind of a reason why you really tried to bring in some of the players with you from Central Michigan and kind of try and bridge the gap on and off the field?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately for me, when it comes to the portal, retaining guys, all that, it's all about where our guys going to be happiest. And so it was never a goal of mine to bring Central Michigan guys with, but I had a great relationship with administration there where we agreed, like, let's be transparent about this. It's about student athletes. It's not about the name at the school or the coach or whatever. And there were a few guys that just, for whatever reason, felt really, really comfortable that this was going to be the right program for them. Obviously, I was probably a part of that, but there were probably other pieces that went into it. So it wasn't we need some of those guys. I think it certainly helped in the fall with just establishing some routines and what we do. But I also didn't want those guys to feel like they had to step in and be Mr. Team Captain or Mr. Team Leader. Like, they've been awesome. You know, you look at a guy like, Luke Sefcik, who early in the year was playing less than half the time for us. He was a first-team all-conference player last year, and he just got beat out at times and just stayed with a good attitude, stayed with the pot. He just kept working, and now he's playing a lot more. Now over the weekend, Christian Mitchell, who's started almost all year for us, sat the last 2 games because just, again, somebody else was a better fit that day. And what's awesome about those guys is they're here to win. They're here to get better. They're here to compete. They're here to be 1 out of 40, and they've done a great job of that. And then the returning guys have embraced them. Everything I've seen, it would be really easy for a returning junior or senior to say, geez, this guy's trying to push me out the door. And they haven't. And we've got some guys, Cole Harding, my God, he's got 30 career home runs. Obviously, as coaches, we've seen better fits in the lineup, but it doesn't mean the kid can't play. It doesn't mean the kid doesn't care. He's awesome, and he has not complained one day. I cannot articulate how hard that is in today's world. Most guys quit. Most guys give up. Most guys blame the coach. He just shows up with a positive attitude every day, and we're not sitting where we are without guys like that. Cam Guidry, Sean Springer, Corey Klingenbeck, guys that played a lot here that haven't had as many opportunities. I cannot speak enough to their character.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the last few weeks, you've seen a lot of the reserves come in and make a big play at the plate or a big play out.
Max Palmieri, the last couple of, he's a senior who's had a lot of injury problems here. He's also a really, really good player. And he came out of the fall just behind some guys. You can't play everybody. It stinks. I mean, it's great to have depth, but it stinks for a kid. And he was just out of the playing rotation. He's, better part of 40 games into the year, and he's got 1 start. Most seniors just start checking the box. I'm just going to get to my senior day. I'm going to blame the coach when I'm out having beers with my buddy in 20 years. It's Coach Bischel's fault I wasn't playing. And I mean, the kid's showing up, and every day in BP, he's banging it all over the yard. He's diving all over the infield. And eventually we're like, my God, throw him in there, see what happens. And it wasn't a surprise to us. He had success. That's why we put him in. But what was cool, it wasn't a surprise to him either. He was preparing when nobody was looking. And so he launches a 3-run home run off one of the top 2 or 3 arms in the league. I mean, how cool is that? And it's nothing our coaches did. He just went out and worked every single day. That's awesome. That was cool.
That sounds like Royer getting a punt block in a real game.
I don't know about that, man.
I can't tear down guys I just met. I'm just gonna let that one go and let it go.
He was Mr. Bearcat. He was official Mr. Bearcat for the football program.
He's the Rudy of Cincinnati football, huh?
Rudy was an
I don't know. Rudy, I mean, I think it's kind of offensive to be Rudy because Rudy was so bad that they had to lay down their jerseys to get him into the game. It wasn't like that for me. But
okay,
it was
I just
somewhat
accidentally completely insulted Ryan, but
no, Rudy, you're coming from a good place though. So
we only know Rudy.
He's been called worse on this show. You're good. He's certainly been called worse on this show.
Ryan, you can trust I've been called a lot worse too. Don't worry.
Hey, it's all good, man. It's all part of the game. Coach, was there a moment that you felt like things started sticking for this is a new team that you're coaching, guys that are trying to get used to you and like getting the ebb and the flow of the season. Was there like a moment like before the season started and then kind of like a moment also during the season when you felt like the guys were really connecting with your vision and in the direction you were trying to go?
Yeah, in October we had that fall scrimmage against Xavier, and they're really good. I mean, they're in a good spot to make the NCAA tournament as an at-large right now, and we really dominated a scrimmage with them. Now, that's not where it clicked and went, but I think it opened our eyes to what it could look like if it all came together. It was funny because a week or two after that, we went to Miami of Ohio, who's having a decent year, but a team that we beat pretty handily this year. They drilled us in the fall. They outscored us all day, and so we saw kind of what we could do and also that we weren't there yet. But, early, we played a couple of nice games the second weekend, Illinois, Ball State, two pretty good programs, won those. And again, we started to see glimpses of what it could look like, but still a lot of up and down. The St. Louis series, they're 31-11 or something right now. In the first game, we were down 14-2. We hit 8 home runs and lost, but we came back from 14-2 to get to 14-12 and then really won the next 2 games handily on the road. That was a nice step. But it's funny. Then we go to Baylor the next week. We win the first game. We play great. You think everything's in the right direction. And then games 2 and 3 are pretty non-competitive. And it seems like we're back to square one. And so it's kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. I think we met right at the start of April, and we talked a lot about April being a month where let's not measure it by wins and losses. Let's measure it by improvement. On May 1st, let's look back and say, are we a better team on May 1st than April 1st? And I think we just kept checking boxes throughout the month of April. The TCU sweep was obviously really, really big, but you talk about going on the road to UCF, and now we start with a series win against West Virginia. I don't think there's one moment, but a road series win, a home sweep against TCU, 3 straight weekend series wins the last 3 weeks. Like it's just a slow building, and I'm smart enough to know like that building it's not a straight incline, right? Like last week we went to Ohio State, we played really poorly, and we have a lot of guys that have a lot of friends on that team and want to be successful in them. We just didn't play well. That's going to happen. But so there's ups and downs, but I think we've hit a few of those. And I think right now they're at a point and this is what I like. If we have a poor performance or a bad loss, they trust who they are and can come back in the next one. You're going to lose so many games in baseball. That's that. And actually the Houston series, that was another big one for us. We had not had a come from behind win all year. We were starting to build some things. I mean, we swept TCU, some good things going, but we had never been down a bunch, came back. In the first Houston game, we were down 4-0 in the middle innings. I think, again, we were getting no hit in the 5th, come back and win. And that was a great sign that we're starting to trust who we were. Don't play the scoreboard, play the game. Stuff we talk about all year, but it's hard to learn. And so again, it's not one moment, but there's so many little ones you can point to that we could talk after the game. We talked a lot preseason. We want to create an identity. What does Cincinnati baseball look like in terms of our energy, in terms of our ability to never quit, in terms of how we play the short game, whatever that is. And so we've talked a lot after games. Hey, that was a step towards building that identity. And it's not there yet. We're not done yet, but these guys have done so much to start that process. It's been really cool.
You're doing some things down there in Clifton that haven't been done in many years. And our own writer, I can't take credit for the stat, but our own writer, Jeff Gentle, tweeted out today that this is the first time that Bearcats baseball has won 3 straight conference series since April of 2016. That's a long, long time to have the type of success that you're having in year one.
I had more brown hair in 2016.
But I mean, that's a long, long time to have this kind of success going into the first year of the Big 12. Just to kind of give you an idea as to how starved this fan base has been for this kind of success.
Yeah, I'm not one to criticize anything that's happened in the past, and there's been some really good moments in our history, but stringing together quite a few wins for stretches obviously has been a challenge at times. And again, it's a credit to kind of the belief in our guys and what we're doing. I didn't know what to expect from this year, but it's also the 4th time I've been a new head coach somewhere. And the first year I always had some level of success. I fully understood the Big 12 is not, NAIA baseball or Division II baseball or the MAC, but I also know that baseball is baseball, and guys buying in and competing can accomplish some things that maybe outsiders don't believe. So there's a piece of me that's really surprised. There's a piece of me that knew these guys could do some things that maybe they didn't even know they could accomplish going in. It was funny. Hunter Jesse said to us a couple of our coaches in practice the other day, he said, "Coach, we got a shot to win 30 games. You must have never thought that was possible." And I was like, I never said it wasn't, but you could tell maybe he didn't think it was. And it's cool to start opening those eyes. But what's cool is we just don't talk about any of those things. We don't talk about winning series. We don't talk about standings. We don't talk about winning records. We don't talk about NCAA tournaments. Do your best to win the game in front of you. And then when that one's over, start preparing for the next one. And I think that's helped us a lot. Like just don't go into a Sunday feeling like you need to win a series. Go into a Sunday feeling like you're going to have fun and compete on a Sunday, and wherever that leaves you, it leaves you. And it's fun then when you look back and say, man, we kind of stacked some things together, because that's not really what we're thinking about as we go through it.
Sure. Do you think that helps in what is now? I mean, you've put yourself in this position, 2 weeks left. You had a road series at BYU, a home series against Oklahoma, a couple weekday games in between. This is the hard part, right? Like, you guys have fought and clawed and worked your way into this conversation in the top half of the league. Now the hard part is finishing and getting into the Big 12 tournament. Some might know that's not even, you got to finish top, 9 in the league?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you still got work to do there, but you also have a chance 2 games out of second place. Like, you guys have a chance to make real noise.
Yeah, I think the hard part is, can we stay the same and not worry about those things? It to me, this should be the fun part. Like, if you're picked last, we should be right now saying we need to win our last 6 league games just to make the conference tournament. We should be looking up at everybody. And so now that we're in this position, we'd be really, really foolish to say, all right, now we got to finish second, or now we got to win this next series to get to point A, B, or C. Like, we're kind of playing on house money right now, aren't we? Like, I don't think anybody pegged us for 13 league wins as it is. So if we dump the last 6, we dump the last 6. And obviously we're competitive. We want to win those games. But to me, and again, bigger than that is why not enjoy it? You put in all this time, and our guys commit a lot of time to this, not just the practice time, but watching video and evaluating things and showing up early and you name it. Like, you get to this point in the season, you better enjoy the fact that you're still playing for something. I mean, to me, and that's always been our message to guys late in the season is, A, there's still an opportunity to keep getting better. So chase that. But B, this should be when it's fun. And we talk about that a lot. Tie game in the 8th inning or down 2 in the 8th inning. It's not, we need a hit here. This is when it's fun, right? You spend all this time preparing so that you can play with the chips on the line. And it's the same with the end of the season. Like, it is the hard part if you let it be the hard part. And we'll talk a lot about let it be the fun part. That's what it should be. It's 18 to 22-year-olds playing baseball.
Which 24-year-olds now with the COVID.
Yeah, I know it.
So guys are going to start having gray hair while they're under.
They are. There's a couple bald guys already.
JP Sponsor, if he would have came back, he would have been bald by the end of the year with that baseball helmet.
There you go. Well, Coach, kind of this is probably a reflective question after the year, but now that you've gotten like a real taste of your roster and a real, taste of the Big 12 play and things along that front, what would it be a focus of yours to try and get maybe a couple more marquee non-conference, series to try and bolster? You've mentioned RPI numerous times, and obviously RPI is the number everyone's looking at as well on the outside looking in. And I guess strength of schedule is a big thing that plays into that. So is that something that you'll take a step back and look at reflectively?
Yeah, a couple of things. Scheduling is usually done a couple of years in advance. Right. I also think that, as excited as I am about what we've gotten done this year, I don't think we're going to line up in August and say, all right, let's just play anybody in the country and try to host a regional. Like, what we've done, just repeating it'll be challenging. And so I also know, as a northern team, just going south and playing SEC schools week 1 that's a hornet's nest, and you can bury yourself if you lose some confidence early. So we want to challenge ourselves. We want to play good teams, but I think there is something to be said about knowing what you can digest and not over scheduling. Our league is going to provide plenty of good RPI opportunities. We're going to have 10 weekends. that provide really good opportunities. Out of those 10, 8 of them are probably going to be either regional or borderline regional teams. And I think this year, as an example, and you can look and say, man, they didn't play great teams. If you look, Jacksonville, I think, is second in their league. I understand it's the A-Sun. It's not a Power 5, but that's a pretty solid team. Coastal Carolina is a regional team. Illinois is winning the Big Ten right now, I believe. Ball State traditionally competes at the top of the MAC, and even though those are kind of sneaky names, it's still pretty good competition early. And if you look at, hey, what would we have needed to have done this year to be in a great spot in the RPI instead of where we're at, we're probably 3 wins away from being a top 45, 50 type team. And I think if you look at the schedule we played, if we would have played at the level we are now the entire year, we'd have 3 or 4 more wins and we'd be sitting in a regional right now. So I don't think the schedule has to necessarily get tougher to get to that level. But if we feel like we've got a roster in place that can really compete with those teams early in the season, that's when we'll schedule it. So like next year, we'll open at USC Upstate. Again, to a casual fan, not a huge name, but if you pull them up, they're winning 35 games a year. They're always top 100 in the RPI, and they don't spend a day indoors when they're prepping for the season. So that's going to be a great road challenge. We'll go to UNLV next year, who usually is pretty competitive in the Mountain West. We're hosting Kent State next year, who's always towards the top of the MAC, and then trying to sprinkle in the Louisville midweek. Indiana coming up, Connecticut coming up. These are pretty good teams. So I think we'll beef it up a little, but we're not just going to say, let's play Vanderbilt, Tennessee week 1 and week 2.
Right.
I'll chaperone that UNLV trip if necessary.
I've had lots of volunteers already. My dad heard about it. You need anybody to come out and see you? Yeah.
We'll make it a BBP field trip.
Let's go.
Lock it down. Go ahead, Chad.
When you look at what's left, you mentioned Indiana, BYU, UConn here, and then that final home series against Oklahoma here. Maybe just short term, give us a look at Indiana tomorrow, and then you hop on a plane and head to Provo, I would guess Thursday, right? So
Wednesday, because we play Thursday. They don't play Sunday, so we play Thursday to Saturday. So we'll drive over to Indiana in the morning, play them, then we just take the short bus ride to Indianapolis, then we fly to Indianapolis on Wednesday. Indiana's good. They were a regional team last year who really thought they were ready to take another step this year, struggled out of the gate for whatever reason, but they're playing really, really well right now and have kind of fought their way back into a regional conversation. I think they're second in the Big Ten, and really offensive team. One of the best offensive teams we'll have seen all year. So we'll have an opportunity like Griffin Hughes and Chase Horst, who can really help us. We'll have a good chance to pitch tomorrow and build some pitch count. Hopefully those guys can compete well, but that's going to be a tough game for us. BYU's towards the bottom of our league, but we saw this with Houston a couple of weeks ago. It was a really talented roster. The problem in our league is every time there's a game, somebody has to lose. And so you've got a lot of times 2 pretty good teams playing each other. BYU is a team that went to Texas a month ago, who's as hot as anybody right now and won the series at Texas. And so I think that's going to be another new challenge for our guys. We really, at what point this year have we gone on the road and been a favorite? And if you think those are going to be easy games out in the mountains, traveling across the country, we got another thing coming. And so hopefully our guys are able to just stay the course and be the same. But I think that's going to be the big challenge. There are plenty of good players to beat us there. And if we take that for granted, we're in trouble. And then we come home next week. UConn, same thing, slow start, always in the regional, hot as can be right now, back in the top 40 in the RPI. Another really tough game. And then Oklahoma, they're fighting to host a regional right now. So really competitive baseball to finish. I'm sure our guys are excited for it. And like I said, I hope they can just kind of embrace the idea that they're playing against high level teams and they're in the mix with them.
Can be pretty distracting at that BYU baseball diamond too, man. That pictures are. Whew.
Yeah. I know it just looks unbelievable. I'm worried I'm not going to be able to breathe. I'm totally out of shape out in the mountains and high air and all that. It's sure enough, it's supposed to be like 42 degrees there tomorrow. So hopefully it warms up a little bit by the weekend. We don't need to deal with that. We had enough of that in March.
Yeah, agreed. Aaron, you got some mailbag?
I do. Or do you have any other questions you want to ask him before we ask him some of the mailbag questions?
I did have a fun question, actually, just real fast. Don't need a long-winded answer on this one, Coach, but you see in college baseball, a lot of coaches, head coaches, like to man the third base coach spot. You, on the other hand, have sent out a coach that you're very familiar with, and Coach Winsky is Is that more of a comfortability thing for you and him, or is that a trust thing? What goes into that?
Yeah, he did it. He did it for 20 years at the Division III level, and he's always been a huge base running, bunting, so he can be very active out there. But the other huge challenge is I call the pitches, which is fairly exhausting, quite frankly. And so when I was in D2 ball, I did both, and by the end of the game, as I was in my mid 30s, I was fine then, but I wouldn't be. I'd be like 7 innings and I'd be on my way home. So I had to give up one of them, and Tom comes in now, and plus now I have somebody to blame if something goes wrong out there.
There we go.
Nice. I did mention that we have some mailbag questions here for you. We do a mailbag on this show every week.
By the way, there's probably plenty of negative ones in there.
No.
Oh, this was the first time we've actually opened up the baseball mailbag because there's been some clamoring for it. So congrats on doing enough to open up the mailbag here. But what would it take for Coach Bishel to take ground rules with the oversized hat on his head?
Oh, what would it take? Probably a lot of drinks that I'm not willing to consume. So I tell you what, I'll put it on record right now. We win a Big 12 championship. I'll wear the oversized hat to the plate.
All right.
I like it.
Clip that.
It's on record.
On record.
With Aaron's bandana underneath it.
Yes, you need that.
That's a World Series bid. That thing's too hideous.
What would mean more for the future of the program, Cross/O'Connor to come back for one more season, or them to get drafted in the first 5 to 10 rounds?
That's a great problem to have. We want our guys to want to be here and be excited to be here. We also want them to great pro ball opportunities. Josh Cross, I would peg as probably moving on to professional baseball next year if I had to guess. Scout's pretty close to the vest this time of year, but he has been really good lately, and he played in front of a ton of us scouts over the weekend with JJ Weatherholt from West Virginia here, and he was tremendous. But those are great problems to have. Ultimately, if they're back with us, they help us win a lot of games, and if they're not, they helped us win a lot of games. They don't get drafted if they're not helping us. And then B, it's obviously a great sales pitch to the next kid that, hey, this is a great place to develop, to me, it's always about the student athlete. If they're getting an opportunity they're excited for to be a pro, it's great for us.
Any thoughts on the rumored lifting of the NCAA scholarship limits?
I think it's coming at some point. There's people paid a lot more than me, a lot smarter than me to figure out what that looks like. But I think it's really hard to justify a 40-man roster with 11.7 scholarships. It's quite frankly not fair to our student athletes. They put in way too much time to have guys that are still paying $20,000 out of pocket. And everybody knows that. Obviously, there's other challenges involved. We do need gender equity, and I'm not downplaying that. Like, I know it's important, but we've got to find a way. But the other thing is all these lawsuits that are going on, the antitrust case, things like that. Right. Eventually, if they're going to pay college athletes, they're certainly going to have to start with paying for their school, right? So our guys deserve a little bit better, and I'm not crying poor for them. They're having an awesome experience and a great opportunity, but it's coming at some point, whether that's 2 years from now or I don't know. I got enough to worry about, but they deserve it, and I think it'll come at some point.
Fair enough. Do you need any volunteer coaches to help coordinate dugout dances?
Yeah, we have to hire choreographers every Wednesday. They come in and teach. We've had that question. We'll be playing another team, and somebody will say, "Do you guys practice those dugout cheers?" I say, "Yeah, we spend an hour." Come on, yeah, It's funny. They think it's like, the message is always you're 18 to 22 playing baseball. Go have fun. And when you tell that to an 18 to 22-year-old, they got to do something to be fun while they're sober. So that's what they find. So we'll take it.
You got 2 more here. How does roster construction look like for next year? More so high schoolers or transfers? Obviously.
Yeah, we've got 11 high school guys signed. So those are guys I can comment on. They're coming in. That's how we want to build long-term. We want to build from the ground up. If we want to get in the business of trying to win the transfer portal, you've got 2 issues. You need a pile of NIL, which is really, really difficult, but you're also going to have some chemistry issues. You're going to have, not that not that there's not a fit for transfers, but when it becomes free agency, there's a reason the biggest payrolls in Major League Baseball don't consistently win the championships. There is a chemistry aspect, there is a grassroots, and we feel good about our player development. So if we've got a guy for 3 or 4 years instead of 1 or 2, it's going to help that guy get better. So for a lot of reasons, we want to build from the ground up. We feel like that 24 class is good. It's deep. We have 7 pitchers, which is going to be really big for our growth. We also know that we are going to get in the transfer portal. We've got 3-4 senior outfielders. You're not going to replace all that with freshmen. And so you're going to need some pieces there. If a guy like Tommy get drafted, that we didn't know what we were getting into, that might be unexpected. So we're going to have to build some there, but that's a few immediate help pieces and good fits. It's not just the highest bidder. It's a good fit. You look at Hunter Jesse, chance to come home and play. Seth Lowe, chance to come home and play. Josh Cross had played against us at CMU and knew our culture and knew it fit. It's not just good players, but good fits, and you just sprinkle those in. So it'll be a mix, but we want a lot of homegrown players.
I'm interested from a coach's perspective. Transfer portal, you do bring a guy in. How much do you have to look at? How will that impact next year? Like you talk about chemistry, it might not impact you right away because the portal closes. These guys are locked in. But after a season, you value something that maybe goes against what the chemistry you had said is. Now you have guys looking at it and saying, well, maybe I should go test my work.
Ultimately, I think if we're going to bring a guy in the transfer portal, I better be able to look one of our own players in the eye. And number one, it's got to be open competition. Whoever earns the job earns the job. You don't just hand it to an older guy. But number two, you've got to be able to say, hey, this guy not only has the ability to beat you out, but he has the character that we're looking for. Like you have to check your boxes and feel good. And so it's challenging. And again, you talk about when Christian and Luke came in here as infielders on a team that returned its whole infield, we needed all of those guys, the returners and the new guys, to buy into the idea that it was going to be open competition, and whoever won it, you're going to have to stand behind those guys. And I think we're pretty fair as coaches, but it's real. And it can go really quickly. You bring in one of those guys, like you said, the next year, you're really talented freshman or sophomore may say, I don't want to deal with that. I'm jumping to the next program. And so, you got to be careful with it, in my opinion. If you simply can dominate it and get the most talented team, you might overcome it. But we're probably not going to do that here. It's not LSU, it's not TCU, but we can close the gap enough to beat those schools if we piece those things together the right way with the right kids. But and now they've taken away the one transfer rule. You could go one transfer. Now you can transfer as many stinking times as you want. And so really player retention is the whole key to this. You got to bring in quality guys, and then you need to create a culture. We're not going to win, the money battle every time. We're not going to be the top of the heap in NIL. So we've got to have guys that say, I love my teammates. I love the school I'm at. I love our community. I think I'm developing and we're winning. All of a sudden, a guy might not care if he can go get a little more NIL money if he feels like he's checking every other box in terms of happiness. And you can't, to me, you don't just spoil these guys and baby these guys. That's not what they're looking for. They want to be pushed, but you got to create an atmosphere where it's a good experience.
I think fans look at it and they see it as a video game. Like, just go get all the top guys and all, everything that solves all the problems. But
yeah, look at all the rings the New York Yankees have over the last 25 years. I mean, you're going to win games with great players, but you may not get to the top of the heap. And there's a lot of good players out there. You can get guys that are a tiny bit better than ours, but it doesn't mean you're just going to be. I mean, you can make up a lot of ground with buy-in and chemistry, and you still need talent. But it's funny because you can say, well, you bring in that 342 hitter and that it's just not that simple.
Coach, another indirect hit at Royer there. Chad, another indirect hit at Royer there. First call Rudy, now you dog on his Yankees.
Come on, Coach. Come on, man.
Yeah. I grew up
hard.
Brewers
It's hard
fan.
being
Brewers haven't got
hard being a
games for having no money.
Dude, it's hard being a Yankees fan in this environment, man. It ain't what it used to be.
You want some advice on being a Yankees fan?
What?
Stop being a Yankees fan.
Hey, you can't get it out of my blood, man. It's the blood in me.
You grew up rooting for the Yankees and Ohio State.
Yes.
Are the
Probably
Lakers your
probably
favorite
the
basketball
Lakers.
team?
The Lakers
No.
are my favorite basketball
No.
team. Yep.
I don't indulge in the NBA really.
The
But
Cowboys.
Kentucky
No, the
basketball is
Brown-
your favorite.
No, the Browns. So I grew up in Columbus. Both my parents went to Ohio State. My dad played there, so we would go to all the games and whatnot. But then my grandpa, my mom's side of the family's from Brooklyn. So when we were little kids, my grandpa would come with his XM radio. He'd make us sit there and listen to the Yankees games like we were in the 1950s, like when he was a kid.
That's
So
great.
we fell in love with baseball the old school way on the radio, listening to the Yankees play. Derek Jeter, he was my hero growing up. So I have somewhat of an excuse.
All right.
Not one of those jackass Yankee fans who like the Lakers and Cowboys, but
Just keep telling yourself that.
Yeah.
The last
Dang,
question
all
in the
right.
mailbag here, Coach, is this team is showing that UC can compete in the Big 12 Conference. What kind of investments in the program, infrastructure, etc., would you like to see in order to sustain and even grow the season's success?
Yeah, I mean, when I took the job, we knew it was going to be a process. It wasn't going to happen overnight. We played at Oklahoma State, and what they've done with their facility is mind blowing. And we know we're not going to get to that point. We also know we don't have to compete with them. But the things that we've grown with already is internal things like making sure we're providing Alston money to guys, which is a way to supplement scholarship, has been really big. We've done some things with graphics internally. We replaced the outfield fence to really give it a more stadium-like feel. We're celebrating some of our pros. There's a lot of small things, some of our staffing things, the depth of our staff and resources that have gone there. There's a lot of small things that may have gone unnoticed that have really helped us take some steps forward. But when I talked to John and Joe Lucky through the process, I mean, we all knew that, listen, we're not just going to throw piles of money at this thing. There's still limited resources. We still need our marquee sports to be successful. We still want all of our sports to be successful. But I think when you look at that football facility that's going in, there is some real value there. We probably are going to have some sort of netting cage work going on in there that will help us get some indoor work. But either way, that's going to be a great place when winter hits to get a little more done than we can get done right now. The nutrition center that goes in there will be an added bonus. The extra weight room may be used by the football players, but that takes 100 plus student athletes out of the current weight room, which frees up a lot of time and space in there. So there's a lot going on that's really exciting. The NIL thing is something we have to continue to build. We're not looking to pay a bunch of players, but it's real. We have to work to retain guys. We have to work to meet kind of that need in terms of what they're paying for costs. Obviously, we're a little limited internally with what we can do there. We need external support, but I know our administration is pushing people to support that, which is great. At some point, I think we'd love to build some standalone indoor stuff. We've got 2 cages, but we'd like to expand that, put in a pitching lab. That's going to take time. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not cheap. It's not free. So that's a piece we need to work towards, but none of that has to happen now or next year. We've seen it now. We've got a lot of good things in place. If we want to be really nationally relevant year in, year out, we got to keep building with what we've done, but it's going to take time, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, whatever it takes. As long as I feel like we're continuing to move forward, I think it's my job to give us a reason to continue to move forward. It's not my job to say we need A to win. It's my job to do everything we can with the resources we have. People worry so much about what they don't have. My God, I played at a tiny little Division III school. We didn't have a real outfield fence when I played. So I think we've got some great things in place, and I think the community and the admin is going to support it as long as we're using what we have to the best of our ability. So I'm really happy. I'm really excited, and it's going to keep moving forward.
Did you hit any little league home runs without an outfield fence?
No,
I
I was the guy who was always the backup first baseman. Always blame the coach, who is now my assistant coach, for me not playing. And looking back, I just wasn't good. I just wasn't good enough.
Now I know why you called me Rudy.
I was the two-way guy that could get some people out on the mound, but insisted he was good enough to start in the field too. So.
Okay, that's
and I was
better
probably
than me.
too
So
lazy
I
to
say
do.
that
I was
anymore.
probably too lazy to do the running the pitchers were doing. So if I could take BP instead, it was well worth it.
Coach, we know you have an early morning. Get back on the grind. Get ready for Indiana on Wednesday, or tomorrow. Sorry,
Yeah,
and then
tomorrow.
get ready to head to BYU on Wednesday. Best of luck. We might have a big thing going on Monday, so if you have a good weekend, we'll have you back on Monday.
Big thing. Okay, no pressure. So if I'm tired of you guys, we just go out and lose a few, and you won't bother me anymore.
Yeah, we won't bug you anymore.
We're
No,
just trying to
I really
give you.
appreciate you guys having me on. I think our community is still learning to understand what level of baseball is played in our league, and I'm not upset with anybody for that, but I think it takes time to build something everybody's really, really excited about, and I think the people that have come out to see us play have gotten a pretty entertaining experience, and so it means a lot that you guys are taking that. I know there's plenty of things going on in Cincinnati for you guys to talk about, so it really does mean a lot. And if there's anything I can ever do to help pump up our program and get people excited about it, I'm happy to do it. You guys are awesome. I appreciate your passion for it.
We can talk about the NIL all you want next week.
All right. Blank checkbooks. Let's get them out.
We are the only independent outlet. Every week we've got baseball coverage up on Bearcat Journal. We have seen for a long time what it could mean if this baseball program takes a step up. We've seen Wes Miller get it rolling. Scott Satterfield in year 2. Katrina Merriweather, goes and lands a top 5 recruit for the 2025 class. Now baseball is getting it moving. There are more ways to be successful outside of just men's basketball and football. And I think you're seeing the community start to wake up and realize what a fun ride baseball season can be.
It is. And, it's tough early. You get bad weather. I understand a lot of it, but I think what's fun about what we do is it's an exciting brand of baseball. We're not just waiting for a 3-run homer. The first inning the other day, we stole 2 pitches and bunted for a hit, maybe, or stole 2 bases and bunted for a hit, maybe the first 6 pitches of the game. And that's fun. There are a ton of kids out there, but again, hopefully this is just a start, right? We'll keep building. It's not going to be easy. There's going to be ups and downs, but our job is to make sure it's worth coming to see, and you guys are doing a great job covering it. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. We will
Thank you guys.
catch you next week. Good luck this weekend.
Sounds good.
Thanks,
Have a good
Coach.
night. Yep.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
That's it.
Thanks, Coach.
There you go. He's impressive.
Coach,
It's
He's a beast.
understandable why he wins. Like,
man.
Beast.
I enjoyed talking to him the last time. He's a fun conversation.
These
He's also very articulate, knows his shit, knows his program and the direction he wants to go in, can articulate it really well. Organized.
I like that he
Everything you want out of a
challenges
head
his
coach.
guys, right? Like, hey, we're going to bring dude in. You're going to have a shot to win your job, but you're going to have to win it. Like, we're not just handing
He's
it
also
to
going to
you
be
because
good
you're
enough.
next in line.
He's going to be good enough to beat you.
Right. That's the key part, right? We're bringing in a guy. He's going to be good enough to beat you. Like, ball's in your court. Let's go.
That's the way it should be, though. Especially,
of course.
in baseball, you do have a big roster, and obviously it's because, pitching staff and whatnot on top of it. But it really should be an absolute competition for every spot because positions aren't.
7 scholarships.
Yeah, that's insane. You had a lot of buddies that were on the IU baseball team when I was there, and like it was just like insane, like hearing like, oh yeah, I have 0% scholarship. It's like, yeah, I've got 50% scholarship.
I've got a quarter scholarship. Like,
yeah.
They gave Royer more than that.
40 dudes sharing 11.7. That's insane.
That's when you know you're fucked up. If I'm making more money than you from the university, that's when you know shit's got to change.
You picked the wrong sport, son.
You could be as big of a jackass and dumbass as I was, and you end up with some free school.
Yeah, that's right.
You just gotta kiss up to Luke Fickle's ass a little bit and make him laugh a couple times.
I like this Royer guy. Let's get him on
This
scholarship.
Royer guy's one of my guys.
He's not very good, but you just like him. I don't know.
But you're a locker room guy.
He does that sock thing, and everyone loves
the
it.
sock thing.
over
Remember the
his
sock thing?
Yeah,
Cock and balls get covered up with the sock.
let's give this guy a scholarship. Yeah. It's between him and
Next
we
time,
could
Ryan,
get this guy out of the portal, but no, I think we give it to Ryan.
Next time, let's just stick with the sock thing.
There we go.
All right,
You gotta
let's
let 'em- you gotta
timestamp
make
it.
sure they know the whole story. Gotta give them a good visual.
No, we don't. That timestamp brought to you by Quick Paper Supply, your local and family-owned restaurant supply company for all your non-food products. Quick Paper services over 150 restaurants with weekly low minimum next day deliveries, providing a wide range of food service products from to-go containers, cups, custom printed products, eco-friendly, and much more. They also have cleaning and restroom supplies for all your janitorial needs. Call Nick 513-470-2029 and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases.
Bang. And Coach mentioned a couple of times, and by the way, coaches, that was extremely impressive. He would be a fun guy to hang out with, and he mentioned these drinks that he said he doesn't want to have. Well, if you put a little new riff in front of him and hanging out with the BCJ crew, maybe he changes his mind a little bit. Maybe he does. Maybe it becomes then time to do a little riffing with Royer. That's when you riff, is when Coach is with us and we have Royer in attendance as well. And Chad, you got the read for Old New Riff, don't you?
I do. New Riff is fiercely independent and unabashedly innovative. They produce award-winning bourbon, rye whiskey, and gin at their distillery in Newport, Kentucky. The Aquafire Tasting Room, located on the 3rd floor of the distillery, features cocktails, flights, and pours of New Riff's entire line of spirits, including rare, limited edition, and distillery exclusive releases. Bearcat Journal listeners can save 50% on distillery tours when you use the code Bearcats24. For more information or to book a tour, visit newriffdistilling.com.
Bang. Royer, you're muted.
Here we go.
I mean, I don't think I don't want to try riffing with Royer muted.
Yeah.
I'm out on that.
All right, I'm ready. All right, keep it on the.
Normally that happens after a bunch of New Riff drinks, but
right,
you were doing it. Yeah.
Let's do this one.
Right.
Over under 4.5 for final placement for the Bearcats baseball team in the Big 12 standings.
So they are tied for 5th with there's a 3-way tie for 5th right now.
Royer, that was a good question.
And then they are 2 games out of 2nd.
I'm pulling it up.
Here's the thing: BYU is always tough because you're out there, but BYU is not very good. They're, as he said, they're talented, but they have struggled to win this season. I think they win the BYU series. Oklahoma is really good, but this team has been outstanding at home. I'm going to say they hold serve at 3-3. They go what? That would make them 16-14 in the conference. But boy, jumping over that log jam ahead of them, I would guess they'll finish fifth or 6th, somewhere in there.
So Kansas has Houston and then at Texas. I can see that at Texas being tough. West Virginia has Kansas State and then at TCU. So, man, I want to see them get up to 4th, but like you said, that log jam, 15-9, 15-9, 15-9, 18-6. I could see them hopping Kansas, like you said, and being right there at 5, just because there's not enough carnage on that, those top ones. So, but you know what? I loved Coach. So give me under. Then they're gonna finish 3rd. Screw it.
There's the Brent we all know
Let's
and love.
go.
Let's go.
Aaron?
I say that they that all those 3 teams sitting at 15-9. It's tough. if I was actually betting on it, I think that I'm probably taking that they don't finish inside that fourth or better. But I don't think finishing at fifth is bad for this season by any stretch.
Anything to sneeze at, right?
Absolutely.
They were picked last,
They were
Not-
dead last.
not second to last,
Yeah.
not third to last, last.
And they
they're
do
in
have that series.
fifth.
That series against BYU, they are 6-18. So
Yeah.
maybe that's where you make up some ground.
Good question, Royer.
Yes. Next question, a little more lighthearted. Did any of you guys ever have in your wildest dreams a Cincinnati Bearcat being chosen first overall in a draft?
Well, I mean, Kenyon
It happened.
and Oscar.
Wow.
We've seen it.
In football, let's say. Let's make it more specific.
So you know what that was, right?
What?
They have two player acquisition models.
Uh-huh.
In one of those player acquisition models, the draft, you have to have some tie, some lineage to Canada.
Yes.
And because DeBlanco's dad was born in Canada, DeBlanco was eligible for that draft, much like Nick Mardner was raised in Canada. That's why he was eligible for that draft. That's why Bearcats went 1-2. So, regardless, he was the best Canadian American prospect in that draft. And congrats to Joel. He has busted his ass.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a draft, right, Ryan? And he was still taking number 1 overall, right? I mean, hey, man.
Do you ever envision a scenario where a Bearcat would go number 1 overall in the NFL draft?
It would need to be a quarterback that was just dominant. So,
and the things I worry about
Sorsby?
anymore, I don't think you think he's going to go number 1?
I'm just
mean,
fucking around.
I like Brendan Sorsby a lot, but
with the first overall pick, the 2026 NFL
the
draft.
Cleveland Browns select.
Nah, they won't be number 1, man. They'll be 30. They'll be picking 32nd
Hey, now.
after taking home the Super Bowl.
Gosh,
the
Sauce
second
got,
year in a row.
I think Ryan finished this bottle before the show.
Sauce got
Yes.
pretty damn close, obviously.
He
Greg
did.
Cook was 5th overall.
Yeah.
Trying to
I would
think.
say probably not, man. I know I'm not going to be popular for saying that, but first
I
pick in the
agree with you,
NFL draft it's a pretty wild deal.
Yeah, you got so many colleges to choose from for like it's
so many football factories. Bama,
tough hill.
Georgia and Texas and Ohio State and Michigan
Just
and USC.
The Big Ten and the SEC.
Yeah, well, I mean, but even just like the top of the top, like
That's
they
all
are.
you've mentioned is the Big Ten and the SEC.
But I'm talking about the top of the Big Ten and the SEC.
Yeah.
Like Indiana's not getting the number 1 overall draft pick. Georgia and Alabama, they're going to do that regularly. So that makes it difficult. I would say no. I think you'll see, occasionally guys scattered. But how long was it between first round picks? 2 decades? 3 decades?
Does it
was a
does
long
it count?
time.
Does it count if he was a guy at Cincinnati that transfers out and goes to one of those big schools in the transfer portal?
Joe Burrow was silently committed to Cincinnati at one point. So if Ohio State fans claim him, I think Cincinnati fans should claim him as well.
Yeah. Yeah, Cook was picked 5th.
Cook was 5th. Sauce was
Sauce
4th.
was 4th.
So
Gotta
the
watch
closest we've gotten is Sauce.
Watch
Sauce
those
should have
quiet
gone
commit-
number 1.
He probably should have.
Trayvon
watch
Walker.
those quiet commitments and those quiet offers. Gotta watch those.
Trayvon
They're so
Walker,
quiet they don't even exist.
Hutchinson, Stingley. Come on. Get the hell out of here. The pride of Chili Coffee, right? Great Cook. There we go.
I got a fun one for the last one. You guys ready?
Dude, I am
Already.
so ready to have fun, man.
All right. We're going to do a power rankings out of all the new hire coaches. Scott Satterfield,
Gosh.
coach we just talked to, Wes Miller, the new women's
Bishop.
head basketball coach.
Jordan Bishop,
Where do we
Katrina
sit
Merriweather.
it? Power rankings.
And right now, I think you have West probably at number one. Like they've been in the NIT the last 2 years. They've been over 20 wins. A little bit
Big
disappointing. A little bit disappointing in the number of Big 12, like close Big 12 games that they lost, but they're pretty close to fully turning the corner. Number two, like I'm ready to put Bishop at number 2 right now. The guy came in no nonsense and has them in the thick of, the Big 12 race with 10 days left in the season or whatever, 11 days left in the season. So I go Bishop 2. On the strength of landing a top 5 recruit, you go Katrina Merriweather 3. And I don't mean this to disparage Scott Satterfield, but they won 3 games. Like, gotta pick it up. It's got to be better. So that's my order for now. But hopefully, what the football program did in the transfer portal translates to Saturdays, because they looked better in spring football. They looked longer and more athletic and more physical. Like all the things, all the boxes you wanted checked were there. But again, told a lot of coaches this. What do we got to do? Win. If you win in this town, the victor claims the spoils. And if you lose, it's not a fun town to lose in. People are cranky when you lose in this town. It's not quite Philly, but people are tired of having the football removed every time they go to kick. So if you can't win, they get antsy. So, it's not a shot across the bow at Satterfield, but it's the reality of go win some games next year, and then you shut that conversation up.
Yeah. I go Bishop number 1, doing more with less. I go Wes Miller number 2. I go Katrina number 3, and I go Scott Satterfield number 4.
Aaron, here's what I'll say. If they finish strong, I think you're right. We're not at the finish line yet on Bishop, right. So yeah. I want to give him like half of his flowers, and then he gets the other half at the finish line.
Just what he's put together has been.
I'm not disagreeing. Like
memorable.
Yeah, for sure.
I got Chad's order just because I just met Coach tonight, and even though
we're longtime homies, he doesn't call me. Right.
This is why Aaron had him number 1.
Exactly.
Aaron got him before the season, so
right. No, I just think the just the trajectory of all of it. The whole first year with Coach Bishop. How does he look in year 2? With Wes, it does seem like there is that steady build year in and year out. And then obviously it's going to culminate with very, very important year this season where he's got a huge core. I think that goes into it as well. And I think, Chad, as you mentioned, you watched the Strong Shower Rain episodes. You listened to every interview that Coach Satterfield and all the players on the team have had and the other coaches on the staff. Nico on here on the BBP talking about it as well. They all know that last year wasn't good enough. And I think they would all agree that they should be, at the bottom right now because they accept it and they own it and they're ready to move on. So I like it. It's a good order for me. I think we rock with it.
I feel like he's bought himself a little bit of time next year. Bishop has in that if he does take a step back next year because of what he was able to do with a decimated roster this season, he's earned a little bit of leeway next year if he's not able to improve right away. But
Yeah, there's no doubt. No doubt. No doubt. Royer, what's your order?
I'm gonna mirror yours and Chad's.
Good take.
But I do think Scott Satterfield has a really good chance to climb up this year.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, we've talked about it. Like first 6 games. I mean, you could. I mean, there's definitely a percent of me that believes they can be 6-0. But if they're 4-2, I'm calling it a disappointment.
Yeah.
I think they had a great offseason. So I think it's. You get what you deserve. I think Scott would probably put himself down at the bottom of the totem pole too. But I think they made a lot of good corrections to kind of try to dig himself out. But then you got Wes, I mean, I think, we all agreed it was a little disappointment this year, but I mean, they got a lot of the guys back next year. Another year in the Big 12. They know the ropes, and I think they're going to be a lot better, make the tournament, and really surprise a lot of people, climb up that conference standings list.
Let's go. We need it. We need it. You got another one, or is that where we're tapped out?
That's all 3 of them.
That's all tree, baby. That's all tree. Let's go ahead and timestamp this. We'll get some quick hits, and then we'll hop in the mailbag.
All right, that brought to you, as always, by our good friends at Quick Paper Supply. They provide mostly disposable restaurant supplies, products like to-go containers, cups, pizza boxes, to-go bags, can liners, napkins. They've been open since 2009, are one of the largest minority-owned companies in the city. Call Nick, 513-470-2029, and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases.
Bingo, bango, bongo. Just some quick hitters, obviously. The wanted to mention the Joel DeBlanco, but that was already covered. And Royer, great job with that. So shouts to Joel. Love you, man. And what was it? He ran a 4, should we say 4.3 and just let it be?
I think it was 4.59.
4.59. We'll take that as well. We will take that as well.
the robot.
There we go. I did see a couple of other players obviously wearing their NFL team gear. Saw Jawan, saw Emery out there. So that's good. Awesome to continue to track. Another thing, Luke Kandra was with the highest rated or second highest rated returning lineman in the main big conferences. That's a high standard right there.
By PFF.
By PFF, yes, correct. Yeah. So and obviously we take their ratings to heart because Chad has a very distinct and BCJ has a very distinct connection with PFF. So they are the best, and they are.
Austin doesn't work there anymore, so.
Oh, where'd he roll off to?
He's with the Ringer. He works for Simmons.
Oh, okay.
He moved out to LA and works
kind
for
of
the
a big
Ringer
deal.
now. Yeah.
Moving on up. Moving damn on up. Gotta love that. Lastly, Keegan has been busy on the road. He was at EYBL this past weekend. Got a nice article up about David and Hannah on the old cover of BCJ. Man, Chad, your thoughts on Hannah? He has some big time game. You watch his highlights from this past weekend, and he is nothing but extremely impressive.
I mean, I have not seen him in person yet. I will see him not this weekend, but next weekend in Indy when EYBL is in Indy. So I'll get my first look at him then. But from everything I know, everything I've talked to, like, he's exactly what you want in a player. He can score. He's improved his jump shot. He can get to the rim. He can get to the free throw line. He's a willing rebounder. He's a willing defender. Like, he's going to have to get better in those areas as he continues to develop. But, I mean, he's really good. And for those that don't know the connection there, remember when they played Bradley and they had a guy on that team named Hannah? Oh, well, that is Davion Hannah's older brother who was recruited to Bradley by Drew Adams. And the one thing you love to see every time Hannah is interviewed or speaks about his recruitment, whatever, he very openly talks glowingly about Cincinnati. So that's a good sign.
Yeah, he obviously the article that Keegan has up, it's speaks very glowingly about the Bearcats and the connections that you just mentioned, Chad. So that's it's a fun one to track there. And we'll see. Obviously, that recruitment is a long ways away from coming to the end. So, but it's good to have that connection and that foot in the door already. So, lastly, the Sean Stewart saga ends in Columbus, Ohio, as he commits to the Buckeyes. Bearcats still with one open scholarship. Obviously, the transfer portal closed, at least the entering part of it closed. There's still plenty of names to track out there. I know, Chad, one was Bearcat. I'm not even going to try and say his last name like you very intelligently stepped away from as well.
I'm not saying his last name. I probably won't say his last name if he commits here.
We'll roll with Bearcat. I mean, all the UCLA games I watched, they just called him Bearcat. So we'll say Bearcat.
Oh
as
no!
Well. What?
No, I'm nothing. Nothing. Sitting this one out.
Okay. Weird. Go ahead, Brent.
Yeah. So that is a fun one to track. And Chad, obviously, this is an interesting stage where it seems like obviously you're seeing new commitments here and there. Obviously, with the NBA draft, the next step there as well with that process. I saw Aziz did not. Go ahead.
I was going to say there's going to be no benefit to having a roster spot open late.
Right.
Because I believe more than half of the Power 5 level teams have at least 2 open roster spots now.
Insane.
Look, we're going to talk about this, I'm sure, a lot more heading into next offseason. Yeah. But with the COVID guys exiting the picture, essentially this next offseason, teams are going to have to reconfigure how to do this.
Yeah.
Because there's not enough high major players out there to fill the number of high major spots that have been opening. And you are seeing that right now. I mean, Cliff Omenjori, there's conversations that he got offered by multiple schools $2 million a year.
Right. I saw that.
$2 million for a year.
Did you see that and say, okay, buddy, or you think these numbers are crazy?
No, they're legit, because what's happening is you're getting to the end and
Right.
There's a bunch of teams that missed in the transfer portal. And they have this $3 million war chest sitting there to spend, and they didn't get any players. So, Arthur Kaluma is getting multiple $1 million offers from what I've heard. Now, do we normally knock that down a little bit? Sure. But still, I think Arthur Kaluma is pretty good.
Yeah.
I think he would be definitely a guy that could be an addition to any high major roster and really, really help. $1 million for Arthur Kaluma? $1 million? You're worth what people will pay you, but it's a market reaction to how this whole thing has evolved.
Yeah. Well, and it's a gamble on some of the player sides as well, where it's, it is going to be weird to see the evolution of it. Of then do people hold out a little bit more if they start to hear and these agents start talking and they're saying like, hey, if you hold out till May, you can get a big paycheck because schools start to scramble, like you're mentioning. And obviously there was kind of that coaching carousel that threw things off this offseason with big names.
It's going to happen every offseason.
Exactly. Right. It's not often though that you see like a Coach Cal go somewhere with a blank check available for
Sure, but in the past couple of years, we've had Coach K retire, we've had Roy retire, like that
Right.
sets off things. Like
Right.
this is going to be part of the process every year. Like maybe this year the bump was a little bit bigger, but like all that did was cloudy the market a little bit more. And all those Arkansas players were good that went into the transfer portal. All those Kentucky players were good that went into the transfer portal. Like, but it's interesting, Brent, because I think if I'm a kid and I want to win, I want to identify where I want to go, visit the schools, and be done with it. I don't think you want to wait. If you're in it for NIL money, heck yeah.
Yeah.
Wait until the end and go play on a crappy bottom level SEC team that didn't hit on any of their targets. You're going to get the ball all the time and you're going to make $1 million, $1.5 million.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, then you also run into a situation where like Riley Kugel or however you say his name, Kugel, commits to Kansas early out of the portal. Then all of a sudden Kansas gets like 3 other players that fit his exact role, probably for big dollar amounts. And all of a sudden he's like, okay, well, I guess I'm probably not going to go to Kansas anymore. So it's just that the whole thing is just a mess. But at this point, you got to take a step back and you got to look at retention, I think, is the most important thing.
Well, you have to be able to read the tea leaves and where it's going.
Right.
Right. Like you can't be caught flat-footed thinking that it's going to go left and it goes right.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think it's just it is fascinating how West was able to retain that much of the core because I don't think there's another team in the Big 12, let alone probably in within the top 30 teams in the country from last year to next year that retained that amount of the leading scorers
returning production.
Right. So that's something to remember. It's something to not discount at all either. So obviously Bearcat is the name out there, and then there will be, I'm sure, others as the portal continues to, even though it's closed, still have plenty of twists and turns with it. So
yeah, I mean, I think if we've talked about this, once you got the 2 guys that you got, you don't have to be desperate.
Right.
I still think they want to go add an impact guy. Like, some of the names that are being kicked around, I think they did. They either have or will make a call on Arthur Kaluma. I think I'm sure there are a couple guys that are in the draft that when they make those decisions later in the month, if they decide to come back to college, that Cincinnati could be involved there. But it's so crazy trying to like navigate this right now because the book is being written. There's not a book. So you're trying to figure out, well, what does this chapter mean before you get to the next chapter? It's not easy.
No, it is not, which is why I'm going to end this convo because it is not easy for me talking about the frustrations that come out of the entire landscape of college sports right now. So you know what? We'll have to see. Obviously, stay locked into BCJ as the names continue to evolve and the options continue to evolve. So we'll see as the next steps come in the next coming weeks. But I think it's time to timestamp and mailbag.
There you go. Quick Paper Supply, your local and family-owned restaurant supply company for all your non-food products. They provide a wide range of food service from to-go containers, cups, custom printed products, eco-friendly, and much more. They also have cleaning and restroom supplies for all your janitorial needs. Call Nick 513-470-2029 and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases.
Oh, all right. I thought we were just going to roll right into the mailbag without a 10-minute timestamp, but here we are. So,
Aaron, it's for Quick Paper Supply. Give shouts to the boys. Let's go.
I get it. That's fine. There's just not much of a mailbag.
No, it's gonna be a quick one,
especially after emptying out the baseball clip. But
yeah, we can answer some of those questions.
Well, I've already deleted them.
Okay, well then never mind. I didn't want to answer those stupid questions anyway.
Yeah, duh.
All right. repeat question from the BCJ pod. This comes at you from the football portion of the mailbag. What happens more of this year, red zone touchdowns or men's basketball total wins? What happens more next year, touchdowns in general for UC, sans the FCS game? Mind you, that was the game where Emory had 7 touchdowns, or men's baseball total wins.
I already answered Wednesday, so you guys have at it with this one. Now, I will say the red zone TDs were higher than you think last year, even though they struggled in the red zone.
Was it?
Which
Was
is
it
why
20,
I took
23,
22 or 23. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if they have a good year in the red zone, like it's going to be a good deal higher than that. So that's why I went with red zone touchdowns over men's basketball total wins.
Gosh.
And Mark clarified this is basketball wins at the end of the NCAA tournament.
Okay.
I'm going with red zone touchdowns as well.
Man, there really is no easy way to look up the red zones, huh?
It was like 23 out of 43 or something like that.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
Okay. I think they'll get more wins than 23, but I imagine the number was a little different when it comes to the year before and whatnot. And I'm sure that they'll probably want to get some more explosive plays in football. Give me wins for basketball by a very slim margin.
I am going with the red zone touchdowns, and I don't think it's going to be particularly close. I think they're going to lean into the running game this year and finally just start punching it in. And I think they're going to get those elusive red zone touchdowns that they desperately needed in more than one game last year.
There we go.
That is the football portion of the mailbag. Moving on to the basketball portion of the mailbag. Do you think, given what you know, that Ohio State offered Sean Stewart either a starting spot or a guaranteed number of minutes? Comment on recruiting a player that has the appearance of that type of leverage.
I'm going to comment on fans needing to get over themselves, and not you specifically here, Killer V. But sometimes you just have to understand that a kid thought another situation was better. It's okay. I don't think the Stewart family was entitled. I don't think they demanded minutes or a guaranteed spot. I think they have a brain, and they looked at the two rosters and said the path here is different than the path there. And we think this is going to be a good basketball situation. We think this is going to be a good basketball situation, but we think this one is better for us. That's okay. It doesn't always have to be some sinister thing. Sometimes a family just does their homework, makes their decision, and your school doesn't win. Okay. Life goes on. Like we don't have to always vilify the kid or the family by, I can't believe they demanded I can't believe that. Now, are there people that do? Yes. Is that a problem? I mean, it depends on your leverage, I guess. How good you are depends on how much leverage you have, or how good you're perceived. Depends on how much leverage you have. But I think this family just looked at their options on the table, and they said, we think this school is more aligned with where we want year 2 of our son's college career, where I want year 2 of my college career to go. It doesn't have to be some like pissing contest, I guess is a good way to put it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you just tip your cap and you go, all right, they were a better fit for that kid. That's okay.
Yeah. Well, and also, for however much we all love Wes and the staff, Ohio State has a staff put together of ace recruiters and guys that have a pre-established relationship with Stewart and the family as well.
The head
So it's
coach.
yeah,
The head
it's like
coach recruited him, and Ohio State was very high up in his recruitment before he picked Duke. That's a
Right.
relationship that's been established for multiple years.
and Diebler's a great recruiter. That's where he got his chops coming up through the coaching vine. So yeah, I mean sometimes, like you said, just gotta give flowers where they're due. And by the way, I went back and I looked at the red zones. It's pretty fascinating. It was 22 red zone touchdowns last year, and then you go back to 2022, it was 22 red zone touchdowns. Then you go to 2021, and it's 44 red zone touchdowns. And you go back to 2019, it's like 42 red zone touchdowns. So I mean, yeah, I'll go red zone touchdowns.
Those were all those Mike Denbrock offenses that all the football fucking geniuses on social media thought they were smarter than.
That's true. That is true. 0 of those red zone touchdowns were 1 yard fullback dives by Ryan Royer, though. It should have happened.
I mean, he's agreed.
Could have been
I've
something
asked
special,
him.
man.
He has agreed that he probably should have gave Royer a few opportunities to power his way into the end zone.
I want to hear the Brady impression as he's talking to Royer.
About me
Royer's-
playing nose guard.
Royer's Brady impression about talking to Royer about Royer playing fullback.
No, it was nose guard.
Yeah, they wanted him to play nose.
He was like, Royer, come here. Let me tell you something. We'll put 50 fucking pounds on you this offseason. We'll put your hand in the fucking get your hand in the fucking dirt. I was like, Coach, I mean, you know how bad I want to play, but I don't want to make it so that it's even harder for me to get women to like me, man. Throw another 50 pounds on me. We're gonna be dealing with some issues, and the chances of me being good at nose guard are also very low. So let's just stay at the dad bod I already have. Let's not get obese dad bod going. So had to shut him down on that one.
Just think how much more furniture you would have thrown off your balcony if you had put those 50 pounds on.
I mean, it would have been a struggle to get me up into the fan too. We didn't even think about that.
Mets could do it. You just have to have Mets around.
Mets and Joey Graber would have been just struggling.
And the last question in the basketball portion, you can guarantee one and only one of these 3 options right now for UC basketball. The rest may or may not happen still, but can't be guaranteed. Which do you lock in and why? Number 1, CJ Frederick is healthy all season next year. Number 2, UC takes a foreign trip this summer and gets the extra practice time to accompany it. Number 3, UC signs a 1-year guy who can provide Big 12 level defense and rebounding as a backup at the 4 and 5 spots.
I lean shooting. Like CJ Frederick is literally a guy that can hit 45 to 50% of his threes. So if you're guaranteeing me, you are taking out the variable that CJ Frederick is healthy or not healthy. He is going to be healthy all year. You've added already Connor Hickman. Seamus has shown us what he can do from 3. And you have CJ Frederick. This is a team that goes from last in the Big 12 probably to middle of the pack level in the Big 12. I think I would take that.
Maybe higher than middle of the pack.
I'm being reasonable. I'm not being Brent. I'm being reasonable. You still have Dan that's not going to be a great 3-point shooter. And
you're talking
Day
like
Day and Jizzle are not great 3-point shooters.
Percentage, yeah.
You are no fucking chance they shoot 40+% from 3 next year.
No, I'm saying you have 40% plus
You have 2.
3-point shooters.
2.
Seamus, Hickman.
Seamus has never shot over 40% in his career.
I mean, in the sample sizes. You know what I'm talking about.
His whole career is the sample size.
Yeah, I'm giving you the sample size.
Okay.
He's a 37, 38% 3-point shooter, which is okay. That's fine. Then you have CJ in the 40s, Hickman in the 40s, Seamus in the upper 30s. But I'm not counting on Dan, Jizzle, and Day Day to be 35 plus. I'm just not.
Right.
So you would be middle of the pack, like you'd be in a good spot. So I would take that just because it would remove the what if on CJ Frederick.
Yeah.
Give me number 3 all day. I don't know quite what Big 12 level defense means, but I think I have a decent idea.
Not Jameel.
I think that means above average defense and rebounding as a backup at the 4-5. I also don't want, truthfully, I don't want minutes taken away from Jizzle and Hickman and Day Day at this point. So not by a guy who
We've taken injury out of it.
He can look. I understand that he can spray threes,
No.
but he cannot move laterally and he cannot defend. So I would much rather have a guy. Well, okay, I have seen it, but okay.
No, you haven't. He played 42 minutes in Big 12 play, and he was hurt the entire time. You have not seen it.
All right. Well, I would still rather have a 4-5.
Okay.
On this roster.
Yeah. Yeah. AC Mazzaro, great question, but number 2, I don't even throw that out there. I guess seeing like getting the crew together and like it's kind of like those bye games early to kind of get everyone's feet under them. I get that side of it. I know we only have would Aziz be allowed to travel on that one, Chad? If there was, hypothetical.
I don't know about that. I'm not sure about that. Aziz and Seamoff might have issues.
Right, and Seamoff too, yeah. So you've got some hurdles there as well.
And depending on who your last roster spot is, that could potentially also be a guy.
Yeah. Yeah, true. Exactly. If they were on lockdown like Bearcat or a different player like that. CMOS the last, 18 games of the season was shooting about 42% from 3. So that's a good addition with CJ as well. Man, I'm kind of with Chad, although I think the correct answer is number 3, because like having like a proven guy that can provide minutes, strong minutes needed in the backup is important. But man, if you get a fully healthy CJ Frederick, who was one of the prize jewels of the transfer portal last year, you're talking about a knockdown dude, and then you've got other knockdown guys. I love shooting too. I think I'd go probably CJ because I think even if you didn't get if you filled that last spot with like a wing that has rebounding abilities, he's not necessarily a 5, then you can kind of tinker with the lineup a little bit more. I do think they probably need a 4-5 backup, but give me all the shooting in the world. Because
let me ask this, Brent.
Yeah.
A 100% guaranteed to be healthy, no questions asked, CJ Frederick or Kalua Zekpe?
Huh.
Who was the guy that averaged double digits in Conference USA?
Oh no, that's a no doubter. Yeah.
So that's what you're dealing with at the 4 and the 5 right now. If you can go out, like if you can hit on a Arthur Kaluma, and I don't think they will because I think the price is exorbitant.
Steep.
But if they can hit on a guy like that, you bring that guy in. I don't know that, like, even if they have the NIL money, I'm not big on overpaying guys well over the value you placed on them. I think that is getting into some of the stuff that we talked about with Jordan Bishop, where, you paid so-and-so this, and now all of a sudden there's this new guy coming in that's getting double, that's not as good as Jizzle James, or maybe just as good as Jizzle James or Dan Skillings, and that guy's getting double what everybody on the team is making.
Yeah.
I'm glad I don't have to pull the trigger on making those decisions.
Right. Yeah. If you get a Kaluma or like Dylan Mitchell or like, one of these just game changers, absolutely. Like if that's the guarantee. But
Even if he's well over like what you value his worth in the market.
oh well, that side of things, that wasn't part of this part of the question. But
I'm adding my part of the question.
there we go. Yeah.
Because the mailbag's light.
Right.
Royer, which one are you picking of these three?
Initially, I was leaning towards the CJ side of it, but one thing I mentioned a lot towards the end of the year is not having like a solid big man presence, but mainly kind of more on the offensive side of things. But that's why I think 3 kind of caught my eye for a second, but I think I'm going to stick with the CJ. I think 3-point shooting is so big, and I think having someone was something we lacked a lot last year. I think it would be a big addition to where we were struggling.
Yeah. And I mean, with Dan's rebounding ability, like you can have lineups where multiple 3-point shooters are on the court at once, and you don't have to, sacrifice Jizzle's minutes or someone like that. So, yeah. Hey, it's fun to have these combos, though. That's all positive conversation right there, no doubt.
All right. That is the basketball portion of the mailbag. Moving on to the baseball portion of the mailbag. There's a couple questions here. We can start here. Give AD Cunningham a grade in baseball terms. From the choices below for the collective hiring of Wes Miller, Jordan Bishel, Coach, and Katrina Merriweather. This is along the same line as one of the new Riffin with Royer questions. But A, 4-pitch strikeout. B, ground out to the pitcher with the bases loaded. Let's make that even a double play. C, single. D, double. E, triple. F, home run. G, grand salami. Or H, refuse to answer as all the grades are incomplete and there are too many choices.
Man, I'll have to pull up that
Like
question.
an overall grade, or are we just grading Cunningham on overall how he's done with all 4 of these hires? Is that the task at hand here?
I think that's the theme of this question. Yes.
I'd say a double, single, double. Like I don't think they're out. Like Satterfield could turn into that. Based on he only has 1 year of experience and it hasn't gone well. Merriweather only has 1 year of experience and they made a lot of improvement, but they still didn't finish with a winning record in the Big 12. I would go a double, single, double, somewhere in that range. I don't think I'd go any higher than that yet, but I think things are pointed in the right trajectory to where I'm not out over my skis, upset about it. That makes sense. Brett?
Yeah, double works because then you can bring that run in pretty easily with the solid at bat, So
I agree.
Give me that double.
I'm in there.
I'm going to go a little higher than all of you with a triple. And
I
say that.
Mr. Optimism, Aaron Smith.
I say that because I'm still high on Wes. I'm still high on. Obviously I'm high on Bishel. I think I'm higher than most on Sat. I think that given what everybody wanted with Coach Prime and all of that at that time frame, and that we settled. This is finger quotes for those of you on the podcast form only. We settled for Coach Sat. Look, I'm more than happy that we have Satterfield right now and not the shit show that is Colorado. Because it's a dumpster fire right now. And who knows what happens after Shadur isn't there anymore. And then Katrina hit it out of the park with one of the best recruits ever in the history of the program, in the history of any program, in the history of the sports program at the University of Cincinnati. So I'm a little high, a little bullish on these hires. And I think that Cunningham's been. I don't know where he's missed right now.
Yeah, I think I'd go with like Brent's analogy. Like any of these guys could be hit home. Like they can all be hit home with a single now. Like if West makes the tournament or Satterfield gets to a bowl game, then you get runs. The same would happen with the triple. So I don't think we're far off. I just think, man, football's so important. You went 3-9 in year one. Like I'm not going above like a mid-level.
You also had to follow the guy, right? Like nobody ever wants to be the guy that follows the guy.
What, Royer leaving and not using his COVID year?
Yeah, that's still a mystery to me.
This fucking guy.
I told you, man, that cubicle.
NIL.
It's got a
NIL.
Pull on. Yeah, I know. Right when I left, they started dishing out the 10K to everyone on the team. I was like, damn, Burton's making 10K and I'm not. I didn't get that shit.
What was that shit he sent me the other day? He just sent me like a picture of a dirt softball field. Like, this is my
when he was playing. Yeah, that's what he was playing. He was playing softball with me and my buddies. It was a great time. That's life now, man.
We need to have him on during the subathon, like next Monday night, like when things are getting a little slap happy, and we've been broadcasting for like 8-9 hours.
It's not a subathon, but
it's a whatever it is. Damn, I gave away too much.
It's a thon of sorts.
It's a thon. We have a thon coming up next Monday. We'll give you more details as they become available. But we should have Burton on late.
Yes.
All right. Other questions if we lost chat. Other questions from the mailbag from the baseball portion. I don't think we need to go back into the questions that were designed just for Coach.
No.
Or the roster construction. That one isn't really going to add anything. But this team is showing that UC can compete in the Big 12 conference. What kind of investments in the program, infrastructure, et cetera, would you like to see in order to sustain and even grow this season's success?
I think they should just dome the place. And that way the winter stuff isn't much of a problem. I know it. I'm kidding. But
put a dome over all of campus. And just
like you could, like you start it at the back, like the backstop, and you run it to Fifth Third Arena.
Okay.
And then around, like just a big cover, so that it doesn't rain on the field.
That could work.
I thought it was interesting to hear how much the baseball team is going to be taking advantage of the indoor practice facility for the football team.
Oh yeah.
So
they live right next door. They are neighbors.
I get it, and also just them moving out of the weight room and how much that's going to open the weight room and different things that he can do in that regard. I thought that was all a pleasant surprise to hear of what they plan on doing and integrating.
Putting 100 kids into that main weight room every day and trying to cycle everything else around them. Ryan will tell you, like, you guys took up a considerable chunk of the weight room time every day. What, 6 to noon pretty much every day?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say 6 to noon easily.
When you're talking about all the different groups and everybody that has to cycle through and like.
Then you do post stuff, like if you do stretching and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Guys want extra work.
Getting them out, Aaron, like changes everything for the rest of the athletic department to move them into their own space and to allow these coaches now to have a little bit more flexibility with their scheduling.
I think it all kind of coincides too with the NCAA allowing for more scholarships, and that would free up some money from the NIL and allow you to do some different things to invest back into the program that maybe you weren't able to do because you were actually trying to make sure these kids didn't have to pay to come to your school to play baseball.
Like 75% of their scholarship.
At least for some of them. When you have 11.7 to go around. Unbelievable.
Make no mistake, there's a significant number of the 40 that get 0. They're walk-ons.
Sure.
Guys that are playing regularly.
Yeah.
Getting $0 scholarship dollars.
That is the baseball portion of the mailbag, and the last portion of the mailbag, the banks. I don't know what happened to Skins. He is apparently obsessed with being a grandparent, and we have lost him to grandfatherhood.
I'm ready. Like if Skins is gone,
but-
I'm ready to cancel the mailbag.
Yeah, we could.
So this is on you, Skins.
All we have here.
You're
What are your
responsible.
top three?
If you don't return within the next week or two, I'm canceling this whole damn segment because it's the summer, and what the hell else are we gonna do?
Not too busy for the group chat, but here we are.
Right.
What are your top? What are your top 3 to 5 movies or TV shows that feature a monkey as a character?
What?
Smokey and the Bandit,
I think-
right? He's got the monkey
Pirates
in
of the Caribbean.
I think this is a reference to Planet of the Apes and that movie coming
Yeah.
back out again because
Okay.
Pirates of the Caribbean, the pet monkey.
Is there?
Oh yeah,
It's the-
he does.
The
that
Captain Barbossa's pet monkey.
one. Yeah, he does.
Friends.
It has some good screen time.
Friends.
Friends.
Okay.
Didn't Ross have a pet monkey at one point?
Or
Aladdin.
was it Joey?
Aladdin.
Or was it Aladdin? That's good. What about
I thought Joey had the duck and the goose, or whatever.
we'll have to freshen up on that. What about
Yeah, I didn't really
like-
actually watch Friends, but
George of the Jungle with Brendan Fraser?
Every Tuesday night at 9.
as opposed to George in the Jungle that has Aaron.
Aha.
That's
What
the
about
sidekick?
Curious George.
Curious George?
Yeah, that's a good one.
That one movie, Mighty Joe Young. I cried.
Dunstan checks in.
Oh, Dunstan checks in. That's a good one. What about The Jungle Book?
Ooh,
Tarzan?
King Louis.
Every
Little King
every
Louis
jungle
action.
movie has a monkey of some sorts.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm the king of the swingers. Yeah, it's a little.
That's the mailbag. Get us out of here, Brent.
Quite
201.
a question there. Bearcat
201.
5029. But hey, you know what? Coach Jordan Bishop, absolute legend, great guy. Would love to continue to build that relationship as he continues to dominate the bringing wins to the baseball program. Big upcoming week, obviously traveling to Bloomington, take down the Hoosiers of Indiana, then hit the road, travel to BYU this weekend for yet again another big Big 12 series. Anything in closing, guys? We ready to lock this one out?
I got nothing.
Yeah, we're going to get an edit on this. We need a Katrina silhouette and a Bishel silhouette now here as we're we're expanding. We're covering more, and we can't just leave it football and men's basketball if we're going to be talking about these other things. Give them their flowers.
Can we get a Danco Joe transparency in the complete, like a selfie of his face?
Oh, I like this. Like in the background, like
It's like
something you gotta
huge, like taking up
really-
80% of the screen.
yeah, you gotta like squint really hard to see it, but you can see it, like that thing, like close one
Danco?
eye and it'll appear.
Yeah.
I like this idea a lot. Well, anyway, shouts to Danco Joe and Danco Transition Nautica. Shouts to Quick Paper Supply. Shouts to New Riff. And of course, shouts to Jordan Bishel for hopping on with us. And big good luck to them the rest of the way for the regular season and hopeful postseason play. But for my broadcast partners, my pals, the crew, the squad, the OGs back together again, Aaron Smith, Chad Brendel, and Ryan Royer. I am Brent Young. Yet again, another fantastic BBP presented by BearcatJournal.com.